Hello, my friend. If you're listening to this right now, it means one thing. You want to improve your English. But maybe deep down, there's something stopping you. You feel like you're not ready. You think your grammar isn't good enough, or your accent is too strong. Or maybe you just don't feel fluent. And that word, fluent, has become a heavy stone in your heart. You carry it with you every time you try to speak. You carry it when you listen, when you write, when you learn. Always asking yourself the same question: when will I be fluent? But today, I want to say something that might surprise you. You don't need to be fluent. You just need to begin. Yes, that's it. Because the truth is, fluency doesn't come before you start speaking. It comes because you started. Let me take you back to a memory. Not mine, not yours, but one that belongs to so many English learners around the world. Feel how light that sounds? That's the sound of freedom. That's the sound of learning without pressure. That's the sound of your true voice. You see, fluency is not the goal. Connection is. Fluency is beautiful, yes, but connection is what matters most. Did the person understand you? Did you express your heart? Did you try? If yes, then guess what? You've already succeeded. So many people worry about being judged, worried they'll say something wrong, worried someone will laugh. But let me tell you something most English. Speakers will never say out loud, they admire you, yes. Native speakers admire anyone who dares to learn their language. They respect the courage it takes, because they know if the situation were reversed, they might not be as brave. So don't hide your English, show it, use it, even if it's broken, even if it's clumsy, even if you mix up words, because every time you use it, you are fixing it. Every sentence is practice. Every mistake is progress. Every try is transformation. Let's make a deal, you and I. For the rest of this week, just 7 days, speak one sentence in English every day. It could be to yourself, in the mirror, in a voice note, to a friend, to a stranger, even to your pet, but say it. Out loud. No filter, no fear. Just your real voice, learning, growing, becoming stronger. And at the end of 7 days, I want you to ask yourself, did I feel fluent? Maybe not. But then ask, did I feel proud? Did I feel stronger? Did I begin? I think the answer will be yes. And that yes, that simple yes, is the seed of everything beautiful. There's something you need to know. Every great speaker you admire was once a beginner. Every confident English voice you hear on YouTube, on podcasts, in interviews, once struggled to say, "How are you?" But they didn't give up. They didn't wait until they felt fluent. They just kept showing up. And that's how growth works. Not in a straight line, not in big leaps, but in quiet, consistent steps. Let me share a story that still makes me smile. There was a teenage boy who loved music. He couldn't understand the lyrics in English, but he felt the rhythm. He felt the emotion. So he started writing down the words. He would pause the song every few seconds, try to catch the pronunciation, and write what he thought he heard. Sometimes he got it wrong. Love became laugh. Dream became drain. But he kept going. He didn't have a teacher. He didn't have a textbook. He just had his curiosity and his courage to begin. Years later, that boy became a songwriter in English. He wasn't fluent when he started, but he fell in love with the language while he was still broken in it, and that love led to fluency. There's a young woman. She's standing in a shop, holding a small bag of rice and a bottle of milk. She looks around. The cashier is busy, and the shop is quiet. She rehearses her line silently in her head. I want to pay this. She's been practicing this sentence since yesterday, but now that she's here, her hands are sweating. Her heart is beating too fast. Her tongue feels like it's frozen. She waits. Then, finally, she walks to the counter. She opens her mouth, and the words come out slowly, carefully. I want to pay this. The cashier doesn't laugh. He just nods and takes the money. That's it. She did it. Not perfectly, not fluently, but she began. And that moment, that simple, ordinary, human moment, is where the magic lives. You see, fluency is not the goal. Progress is. Every word you say, no matter how slow, no matter how broken, is a victory. It's not about being perfect. It's about being brave. Because let's be honest, learning a language is not easy. It's like standing at the bottom of a mountain looking up and feeling like the top is too far to reach. But the people who reach the top, they're not the ones who wait until they feel strong. They're not the ones who wait for the perfect weather or the best shoes. They are the ones who take the first step, tired, nervous, unsure, but moving forward anyway. And you can be that person too. I want to ask you something. What if you stopped waiting for fluency and started building confidence instead? What if you spoke one sentence a day? Not perfectly, not smoothly, but with heart? What if your English didn't have to impress anyone and only needed to express something? Because English is not a test. It's not a race. It's not a trophy. It's a tool to tell your story, to make a friend, to ask a question, to understand the world. And no one learns how to use a tool by thinking about it forever. You learn by using it. Messy at first, slow in the beginning, but stronger every time. I remember a man who learned English by writing 3 words a day. That's it. 3 words. He worked as a street cleaner, and every day after work he'd sit on a small bench with a broken notebook and write, "Today, tired, rain. Tomorrow, clean, again. Dream, school, someday." And do you know what happened? 1 year later, he applied for a scholarship. 2 years later, he gave a speech in English to 300 people. And in that speech, he said, "I did not begin because I was fluent. I became fluent because I began." That sentence changed the room. And maybe today, it will change something in you, too. So here's what I want you to know. Your English is enough to start, right now, right here. No more waiting, no more maybe tomorrow, no more I'm not ready yet. Because the moment you begin, you've already won. Let's pause. For a moment, not to stop, but to breathe. Because sometimes we move through learning so fast, we forget how far we've come. So let me ask you this. Do you remember your first English word? Maybe it was hello. Maybe it was thank you. Maybe it was something funny, something small, something that made you smile. That word was your beginning. And look at you now. You're listening to this whole episode in English. Even if you don't understand every word, you understand the message. You feel it. And that means you've already begun. You know, I've met so many learners who wait too long. They wait for the perfect time to speak. They wait for the perfect grammar to begin a conversation. They wait for fluency, like it's a certificate, a title, a magical key. But that waiting, it becomes a wall. It becomes fear in disguise, because the longer you wait, the more your fear grows. And the more your fear grows, the smaller your voice becomes. But your voice, my friend, your voice deserves space. Your ideas deserve air. Your words deserve to come alive, even if they're slow, even if they're full of mistakes, even if you're not sure how they sound. Let me tell you about a man I met online. He was from a small town and had never traveled outside his country. He worked as a bus driver. Every day, while passengers sat quietly, he would whisper English sentences to himself. "This is my stop." "Where are you going?" "How much is the ticket?" At night, he would stand in front of a mirror, tired after a long day, and speak to himself in English. Just 1 or 2 minutes. Every single day. 1 year later, he joined an online class. His voice was shaking. His sentences were simple, but he showed up, and the teacher said something powerful. "You are not behind. You are right on time, because you began." And I want to say the same thing to you. You're not late. You're not behind. You're not too old, too shy, too anything. You are right on time. You are exactly where you need to be. Because today, you showed up. You pressed play. You listened. You made a choice. That's the beginning of everything. Now I want to give you something real. Something you can carry with you today. Here's a sentence I want you to practice out loud. I don't need to be fluent to speak. I just need to be honest. Try saying it with me again. I don't need to be fluent to speak. I just need to be honest. So if you're asking yourself, when will I feel confident? Here's the answer. Confidence comes after courage, not before, not during. After. The moment you try, even if you shake, even if your voice cracks, that moment is where confidence is born. You don't wait for confidence. You create it, one attempt at a time. Now, I know what you might be thinking. But what if I make a mistake? Let me tell you something powerful. Mistakes are proof that you are trying. They are not signs of failure. They are signs of movement. Signs of learning. When a child learns to walk, they fall again and again. But no one says, "Oh no, he fell. Walking isn't for him." We cheer for them. We clap when they stand again. Why? Because falling means they're learning to walk, and mistakes in English, they mean you're learning to speak. So fall forward, fall proud, fall with a smile, because every mistake is a step forward. I once met a woman who was too shy to speak in class. She always stayed quiet, even though she understood almost everything. One day, her teacher asked her to say just one sentence. She stood up. Her hands were shaking. She looked down, and she said, "My name is Anna. I like the rain." That's all. Just 8 words. But her classmates clapped, not because it was perfect, but because it was brave. After class, someone told her, "That was beautiful. I like the rain too." And that one sentence, it started a friendship. That's the power of speaking, even just a little. It opens doors. It connects hearts. So let me ask you something. What's one sentence you want to say today? Maybe, "I want to learn." "I believe I can do this." "I'm not fluent, but I'm starting." Choose your sentence. Say it out loud. Not because someone told you to, but because you are ready. And I promise you, you are. Let's go deeper now. Let's talk about fear. Because most people don't stop learning because of grammar. They stop because of fear. Fear of being wrong. Fear of being laughed at. Fear of feeling stupid. But here's what fear doesn't want you to know. Your fear is lying to you. It says you'll embarrass yourself. It says you're not good enough. It says you should stay silent. But your heart knows better. Your heart says, you've already survived so much. You've already overcome so many things. This is just one more step. So don't listen to fear. Listen to your effort. Listen to your dreams. Listen to the quiet courage that made you press play today. That voice inside you. The one whispering, try. That's your power. Remember this. Every fluent speaker once said their first sentence, so will you. Every confident English learner once doubted themselves. So will you. But the ones who succeed? They're not the ones who speak perfectly. They're the ones who don't stop, even when it's hard, even when it's slow, even when no one is clapping yet. They keep going. And you will too. So today, don't wait to be fluent. Begin broken. Begin unsure. Begin tired, scared, hopeful, messy, human, but begin. And in that beginning, you will find everything you've been searching for. Let me tell you a story. There was a man who worked in a restaurant kitchen. He didn't speak much English. In fact, he didn't speak much at all. He cooked, he cleaned, he listened. While others laughed and shared jokes in English, he stayed quiet. Not because he didn't care, but because he didn't feel ready. Until one day, something changed. The head chef, a tall man with a loud voice, asked him, "Can you make this again? Same as yesterday?" And the man froze. He understood the question, but he couldn't find the words to answer. So he just nodded, quiet, nervous, embarrassed. But that night something stirred inside him. He went home, opened his phone, and typed how to answer yes in English politely. And that was his beginning. Every day after that, he learned one new phrase. Just one. He wrote them on sticky notes. Yes, chef. Coming right up. Sorry, I don't understand. Can you repeat? He stuck the notes to the fridge, the wall, the bathroom mirror. English became part of his day. Not a big, scary project, just one phrase at a time. And guess what? 6 months later, he gave instructions to a new worker in English. 1 year later, he led a team of 3. Not because he was fluent, but because he began. Because he made space for English in his ordinary life. Because he didn't treat it as homework. He treated it as life. And that, my friend, is the secret. You don't need hours and hours of study. You don't need expensive lessons or perfect grammar. You just need small, consistent moments. Because those small moments, they build the life you want. I want you to try something today. Choose one place in your daily life, the kitchen, your bathroom mirror, your phone screen, and place one sentence in English there. Just one. It could be, today is a new chance. I speak with courage. English is part of me. Every time you see it, say it out loud. That's not silly. That's not childish. That's powerful. Because your environment can shape your mind. And if your world is filled with quiet English encouragement, your brain begins to believe it. You know, many people think learning happens only in classrooms. But some of the best learning happens in life when you order coffee, when you scroll through social media in English, when you hear a phrase and pause to repeat it. Those small actions, they build fluency from the inside out. Just like drops of water can wear down stone, your small daily efforts can shape your future. Let me ask you something simple. Do you brush your teeth every day? Of course you do. You don't skip a day and say, I'll brush 7 times on Sunday. No, you do it every day. Because you know, it keeps your body clean and healthy. Learning English works the same way. One phrase a day, one sentence a day, one little practice a day. That's how you build language muscles. That's how you go from I can't to I just did. Met a woman once who learned English by cooking. Every recipe, every spice, every ingredient. She looked it up in English. She made labels for everything in her kitchen: sugar, salt, cooking oil, onion. She didn't speak much at first, but the words became familiar. The sounds became normal. The sentences followed later, and one day, without even thinking, she said to her daughter, "Don't forget the garlic." In English, she laughed. It felt natural. It felt like hers. That's how fluency sneaks up on you. Not in big moments, but in ordinary ones. So here's what I want you to remember. You don't have to chase fluency. Let fluency come to you by living your life in small English moments. One sentence while cooking, one word while walking, one phrase before sleeping. It's not about how fast you learn. It's about how often you try. And when you do it often, fluency is not far behind. You are already becoming the English speaker you want to be. Every time you listen to a podcast like this, you're feeding your brain. Every time you speak out loud, you're planting seeds of confidence. Every time you try, even when it's hard, you are building something that no one can take from you. Let's keep this simple. You don't need to impress anyone. You don't need to sound like a native speaker. You just need to be brave enough to start. The rest will come. The grammar will come. The vocabulary will grow. The accent will soften with time, but only if you start. And if no one has told you this lately, let me say it clearly. You are doing better than you think. You are further than you realize. You are not behind. You are exactly where you need to be because you began. Let's talk about something important today. Not grammar, not vocabulary, but something deeper than that. The mindset of showing up. Even when you feel imperfect. Because if you wait until everything feels right, you might never begin. If you wait until your pronunciation is smooth, your confidence is strong, your words come easily, you may be waiting forever. But when you show up, even while shaking, even while uncertain, you send a message to your future self. I am trying. I am showing up. I am not giving up. And that message, that's what builds a foundation. That's what makes you unstoppable. Let me share a story. There was a young man named Leo. He loved learning English, but hated speaking. Every time he tried, his tongue froze. His brain went blank. His voice sounded strange to himself. One day he heard something on a podcast. Don't practice speaking to impress others. Practice speaking to express yourself. That line stayed with him, so Leo started journaling. But in English. Every night before bed, he would write just a few lines in a notebook. Today was hard. I felt tired, but I spoke one sentence in English. I watched a video. I didn't understand all the words, but I tried. I feel shy, but I want to grow. He didn't worry about grammar. He didn't care about spelling. He just wrote honestly. And over time, something amazing happened. His thoughts became clearer. His confidence grew. And one day, he began reading his journal entries out loud. Slowly. Gently, not for anyone else, just for himself. That became his daily speaking practice. And guess what? After 6 months, Leo joined an online English group. He introduced himself with a shaky voice, but with a full heart. He said, "Hi, I'm Leo. I'm learning. I'm still shy, but I'm here." And everyone welcomed him. That's what it means. To begin. Not perfectly, but truthfully. You don't need to speak like someone else. You just need to speak like you, even if it's slow, even if it's soft, even if it takes time. Your voice has value, just as it is. And the world needs more people who speak with honesty, not just with skill. Let's take a breath together, wherever you are, walking, sitting, listening in a busy room or in quiet. Pause with me now. Close your eyes for a second if you can and repeat in your heart, I am not fluent, but I am real. I am learning, and I am enough. Again, I am not fluent, but I am real. I am learning, and I am enough. That is your daily reminder, not just for English, but for life. The pressure to be perfect is heavy. I know. We see people online speaking quickly, reading effortlessly, making jokes in English, and we think, I'll never be like that. But here's the truth. You're not supposed to be like anyone else. You are on your own journey. You are building your own voice. You are writing your own story. And that story, it doesn't begin with perfection. It begins with presence. So what can you do today? Not tomorrow, not someday, but today. Here are 3 simple things. Speak to yourself in the mirror. Even just one sentence. You can say, today I will try. I am learning English. I believe in myself. Write one short thought in English. In your phone. In a notebook. Anywhere. Don't worry about mistakes. Just express yourself. Celebrate small wins. Did you understand one new word? Did you listen to this podcast until this point? Did you try, even a little? Then you've already succeeded. Let me tell you something someone once told me. You don't grow when you do things perfectly. You grow when you do things bravely. And you, my friend, are already doing that. So today, don't measure yourself by how fluent you are. Measure yourself by how brave you're becoming. You started this episode. You stayed with me. You listened, you felt, you believed. That means you're already growing. Let me end this part with a simple image. Imagine a seed. Tiny. Quiet. Almost invisible. It doesn't look like much. But under the soil, something is happening. Slowly. Silently. Powerfully, roots are forming. Life is preparing, and one day, a sprout breaks through the ground. That's your English journey. It may feel slow. It may feel small. But underground, your roots are already strong. You are growing, and that's all that matters. Let's talk about something beautiful today. Not vocabulary, not grammar, but something deeper than all of that. The reward of showing up again and again. Because when you begin, something magical happens inside you. And when you keep going, something even more powerful begins to grow. Belief. Not the kind of belief that says, one day I'll be perfect. But the kind that whispers, I'm becoming someone new. There's something quiet and strong about consistency. Not the loud effort, not the big promises. Just the gentle, quiet act of showing up every day. Even when no one is watching. Even when no one claps. Even when it feels like nothing is changing, because something is always changing inside you. And the reward? It's not just fluency, it's self-trust. It's the voice that says, I kept going. Let me give you a picture. Imagine you're standing in front of a wide river. On one side, the life you live now, where you feel unsure, silent, maybe even stuck. On the other side, the life where you speak freely, confidently, with ease. Between them, the water feels deep and scary. But you have something powerful. Language is your bridge, and here's the truth. You don't build the bridge all at once. You lay it down, plank by plank, word by word. Each time you try, you lay one more piece. Each time you speak, even a little, the bridge grows stronger. And one day, without even realizing it, you step across. Not because the river disappeared, but because you built the courage to walk over it. I once read a story about a refugee girl who moved to a new country. She couldn't speak the local language. Every day she felt invisible. She sat in the back of the classroom. People laughed when she tried to speak, but one teacher, just one, believed in her. Gave her a journal, told her, write anything, every day. So she did. She wrote about food, she wrote about her mother, she wrote about missing home, and over time, her English became stronger. She didn't become fluent overnight, but she became brave. That journal, it became her voice. Today, she's a published author, in English. But it didn't begin with fluency. It began with courage and consistency. So I ask you now, what if your journey is not about how fast you learn, but how deeply you grow? What if English is not just a language you're learning, but a mirror that shows you who you're becoming? Someone with more patience. Someone with more self-respect. Someone with more power than they ever imagined. Because let's be honest, you could have given up already, but you didn't. You could have stopped listening, but you're still here. You could have stayed silent, but something in you, your quiet strength, and said, oh, no, I want more. That matters more than any test score, more than any perfect pronunciation, more than any certificate. Your desire to grow, your decision to begin, your ability to keep going even when it's slow. That's the real success. Now let's go back to the river. What if I told you that the bridge you're building, that small sentence you practice every day, doesn't just carry you, it also becomes a path for others? Yes, when you learn English, you don't only change your life, you become a voice for your family. You open doors for your children. You help someone else ask for help, understand a sign, or feel less alone. Your learning is someone else's light. So the next time you feel tired or you think your English doesn't matter, remember this. Your voice might be the reason someone else dares to speak. Now let's reflect, just for a moment. Close your eyes. Place your hand on your heart if you can, and repeat softly, I am building a bridge, one word at a time, for myself and for others. Again, I am building a bridge, one word at a time, for myself and for others. That is your power, that is your purpose, and that is more than enough. Let me tell you a story to carry in your heart. There was a woman who had spent years feeling small. She worked hard, but always stayed in the background. In meetings, she didn't speak. At school events, she stayed quiet. Even in simple conversations, she kept her head low. Why? Because her English wasn't fluent. She thought that until she sounded perfect, her words didn't matter. But something changed one afternoon. Her son came home from school with tears in his eyes. He had been bullied, mocked for his accent when reading aloud. She held him close. And for the first time in a long time, she didn't wait for perfect words. She looked him in the eyes and said, Your voice matters. You're learning, and I'm proud of you. The English wasn't fancy. It wasn't smooth. But it was enough. It was love. It was strength. It was real. And that night, she made a decision. If I can speak for my son, I can speak for myself too. She began slowly. She started joining small conversations. She practiced one sentence each day. She wasn't chasing perfection anymore. She was chasing courage. 1 year later, she stood up at a community meeting and introduced herself, not because she was fluent, but because she finally believed. She didn't need to be. My friend, sometimes the people who speak the softest carry the deepest truths. And your story, your real story, doesn't need perfect grammar. It just needs your voice. Because when you speak from the heart, people listen with theirs. You don't have to wait for fluency to speak up for yourself, to ask a question, to share a feeling, to support a loved one. You just need to begin with what you have, from where you are, in the way only you can. And that's more than enough. Let's talk about what happens when you do. When you begin, even when it's awkward, you send a message into the world. I'm here. I'm trying. I'm not afraid to grow. And the world responds, maybe not loudly, maybe not instantly, but slowly. The right people begin to find you. The teacher who sees your effort, the friend who encourages you, the stranger who says, I understand you. And over time, those small moments become your fuel. They remind you, you're not invisible, you're not foolish, you're not behind. You're becoming. There is no perfect day to start. There is only today. And the person who speaks just one honest sentence today is already ahead of the person who waits for fluency tomorrow. So speak broken English. Speak slowly. Speak without apology. Because broken English is still communication. It's still connection. It's still beautiful. Why? Because it's brave, and brave always shines brighter than perfect. Let's close this part with one more reflection. Put your hand over your heart. Take a slow breath in, and say to yourself, I don't need to be fluent, I just need to begin. One more time. I don't need to be fluent, I just need to begin. That's your compass. That's your permission. That's your truth. Let me take you to a quiet corner of a library. There's a boy sitting at the end of a long table, an old English book open in front of him. He isn't reading it quickly. In fact, he's been stuck on the same page for 10 minutes. His lips move as he whispers the words softly, trying to understand them. He writes one sentence down. Then he closes the book, takes a breath, and walks over to the librarian. Excuse me, he says slowly. Can you help me understand this? It's a small moment, but it's the first time he's spoken English to a stranger. The librarian smiles. She sits with him and explains the sentence. No judgment, no pressure. That one question changed something in him, because now he knows. He doesn't have to wait. He can ask, he can try, he can learn. Out loud. That boy, he became a teacher. And today he tells his students, don't wait until you're fluent to raise your hand. Raise your hand so you can become fluent. That's the message I want to leave in your heart today. Don't wait until your English is smooth. Don't wait until your grammar is perfect. Don't wait until your confidence is full. Begin now. Because English is not a mountain to climb alone. It's a bridge to walk together. It's a voice to share, even when it's soft. It's a journey that begins with one word. You are not invisible. You are not too late. You are not too slow. You are becoming. And everything beautiful about you, your honesty, your effort, your heart, will only grow louder when you speak. Whether it's to a teacher, a friend, a child, a stranger, or just to yourself in the mirror, your voice matters. You've made it this far in the episode. That's not a small thing. It means you care. It means you want to grow. It means you're already doing more than most people, and for that, I want you to take a moment now to thank yourself, not later, not when you succeed. right now, because the decision to begin is the bravest thing you can do. Let's say it together, one final time. I don't need to be fluent. I just need to begin. One more time for your future self. I don't need to be fluent. I just need to begin. That's the truth you'll carry with you in every new conversation, every difficult sentence, every step forward. This episode wasn't about English rules. It wasn't about pronunciation tricks. It wasn't about vocabulary drills. It was about something bigger. It was about belief. Belief in small beginnings. Belief in your own voice. Belief in the journey. Even when it's slow, because what you say matters. Even if it's not perfect. Even if it's quiet. Even if it's still growing. You are learning a new language. You are unlocking new parts of yourself. And you are building a future with every word. That is powerful. That is meaningful. And that is yours. Thank you for spending this time with me. Thank you for believing in your growth. Thank you for choosing not to wait. The journey continues. But now, you're already on your way, and I'll be right here every step of the way, reminding you, you don't need to be fluent. You just need to begin. Let me ask you something personal. When was the last time you celebrated yourself? Not for being perfect, but for simply trying? Because that's where most people get it wrong. They think growth means big wins, like giving a long speech, like passing an exam, like moving abroad and speaking like a native. But real growth lives in the smallest moments. When you open your mouth, even when you're scared, when you write one sentence, even when you make 10 mistakes, when you try again, even after yesterday was hard. That's where the change happens. Quietly, slowly, deeply. Let me tell you about a boy named Aaron. He lived in a small village. No internet, no English class. But one day he found an old English book in a second-hand market. He didn't understand most of it, but he liked the sound of the words. So he started copying one line each day into a notebook. At night, he would read them to the stars, out loud, not to anyone else. Just the sky. One day, a traveler came through the village and heard him reading. The traveler smiled and asked, "Do you understand what you're reading?" Aaron shook his head. "Not yet," he said, "but I like how it feels in my mouth." That line stayed with me. I like how it feels in my mouth. He wasn't afraid of mistakes. He wasn't waiting to be perfect. He just loved the sound of progress. And today, that same boy, he works as an interpreter for international guests. Still learning, still speaking, still beginning, every day. So here's the truth. You don't need the best tools. You don't need perfect lessons. You just need the willingness to try. The world will meet you halfway, but only after you begin. I know you've heard the phrase, practice makes perfect. But here's a better one. Practice makes progress, and progress builds confidence. That's the real path. Confidence isn't something you wait for. It's something you build every time you speak, every time you stumble, every time you get up again. Here's a simple exercise for you. You can do this tonight. Take a notebook, or open the Notes app on your phone, and write just 3 lines. One sentence in English about how your day was. One new word you heard or learned today. One thing you're proud of. That's it. Do it for a week. Then read it out loud, slowly, with love. Don't judge your grammar. Don't worry about your accent. Just speak your truth, and you'll feel something powerful. I am not just learning English. I am learning myself. Let's pause and reflect again. Say this with me. I don't need to speak fast. I don't need to speak perfectly. I just need to speak with heart. Again, I don't need to speak fast. I don't need to speak perfectly. I just need to speak with heart. That's the voice of your growth. That's your new rhythm. Now imagine this. You're in a room with 10 other learners. Each person stands up and says something in English. None of them speak perfectly. But you know what fills the room? Not silence. Respect. Why? Because effort is beautiful. Because courage is contagious. Because your imperfect words carry real meaning. And that's what learning is about. You're not learning English to pass a test. You're learning to share your story, connect with new people, understand the world, express your feelings, help someone in need. Learn more about yourself. Fluency is a goal, but connection is the reason, and that reason is already alive in you. Let's make a small promise. Today, a quiet, powerful one. Repeat after me. I will not wait for fluency. I will begin with what I have. My voice matters. My effort is enough. Every step I take, even small, is taking me somewhere beautiful. This is your voice. This is your journey. This is your beginning, and you are doing beautifully. Let's take a moment and talk about the lies we've been told. Not on purpose, but still, they can hurt us, especially when we're learning something new, like English. Here are some of the biggest lies English learners often believe. I need to sound like a native speaker. I'll embarrass myself if I speak with mistakes. It's too late for me to start learning now. Everyone else learns faster than me. Sound familiar? Maybe you've told yourself one of these, maybe more than once. But here's the truth, and I want you to hear this with your whole heart. None of those things are true. They are fears, and fears are not facts. They are thoughts, and thoughts can be changed. Let's break those lies down. First, I need to sound like a native speaker. No, you don't. You need to sound like yourself. Clear, confident, and kind. Your accent is not a mistake. It's a part of your story. It shows where you come from, what you've been through, how hard you've worked. And the goal isn't to erase that. The goal is to be understood. And that you can already do. Second, I'll embarrass myself if I speak with mistakes. You know what's more embarrassing? Never speaking at all, even though you had something important to say. Mistakes are not shameful. They're part of the process. Even native speakers make mistakes. Even English teachers forget words sometimes. Mistakes don't mean you're weak. They mean you're trying. They mean you're brave. So speak proudly, even with your mistakes, because you're not here to impress. You're here to express. Third, it's too late for me to start. Let me tell you a secret. Language doesn't care about your age. It cares about your effort. I once met a man who started learning English at 72. He said, I want to talk to my grandson in his language before I go. He practiced every day. One new word, one short sentence, slow, steady, gentle, and 1 year later, he recorded a birthday message in English for his grandson. No fancy words, no long speech, just love and effort. It's never too late. Never. And the fourth lie, everyone learns faster than me. Please don't compare your beginning to someone else's middle. You don't know their story. You don't know how long they've practiced. You don't know their struggles. Your journey is yours, and speed doesn't equal success. Consistency does. One sentence a day is better than waiting for the perfect time to study for 2 hours. Start small. Stay steady. You're doing just fine. Now let's talk about your brain, because your brain is not your enemy. Even when it feels slow, even when it forgets, even when it feels tired, your brain is learning something huge, a new way to think, a new way to speak, a new world to understand. That takes time. And that's okay. Think of your brain like a garden. If you plant a seed, you don't shout at the soil the next day, "Why haven't you grown yet?" No. You water it, you wait. You believe, you give it sunshine. You give it space. And then one day, quietly, a green sprout appears. That's how English grows inside you too. Every new word you hear, that's a seed. Every sentence you speak, that's sunlight. Every mistake you make, that's water. And every time you return, even when you feel stuck, even when it's hard, that's you being a gardener of your own future. Now take a breath and say with me, I am planting. I am growing. I am becoming. One more time. I am planting. I am growing. I am becoming. Let that become your truth. Let that become your rhythm. Let that become the way you treat yourself, with patience, with care, and with kindness. You're not broken. You're not behind. You're not slow. You're becoming fluent in something much bigger than English. Belief. Belief in your future. Belief in your voice. Belief in your ability to rise, even after falling 100 times. And that belief, that's what changes everything. Let's try a different way of seeing this. Imagine English is like a new pair of shoes. At first, they feel strange. Too tight, too stiff. You walk awkwardly. You look down at your feet. You feel self-conscious. You think, maybe these shoes weren't made for me. But you keep walking. One step, another, another. Soon they begin to loosen. Your feet adjust. You walk with less fear. And one day, you forget you're wearing them. That's what happens when you begin using English every day. It feels uncomfortable in the beginning, but slowly it becomes part of you. And you won't even notice how far you've walked until one day you look back and realize you're no longer at the starting line. You've been moving forward all along. Now let me speak to those of you who feel slow. You listen to podcasts like this. You try to repeat the words. You write notes. You practice 8 hall. Little every day. But still, you wonder, why does it feel like I'm not improving? Let me tell you why, because growth is quiet. It happens below the surface. It's not always visible, but it's always happening, just like your heartbeat. You don't hear it, you don't see it, but it keeps you alive. And your effort, even when it feels invisible, is doing the same. It's keeping your dream alive. Fluency isn't built in loud moments. It's built in silent ones. When you talk to yourself while washing dishes, when you whisper new words before sleep, when you translate your thoughts in your head on the bus. That's where fluency lives. So don't be fooled by silence. Your brain is listening. Your heart is learning. Your voice is preparing to grow louder. Let me share one more image. There's a mountain trail that people climb every year. At the top, the view is incredible. But many people give up halfway. They say the trail is too hard, too steep, too long. But here's what they don't realize. The most beautiful views often come just after the hardest climb. Sometimes you're closest to breakthrough right when you feel like quitting. So if that's you, if you're tired, frustrated, or tempted to stop, don't. Just take one more step. Maybe slower, maybe softer, but forward, because your moment, the one where it all clicks, could be just ahead. Let's pause here. Place one hand over your chest, take a deep breath, and repeat. Even if I walk slowly, I will not stop. My pace is mine. My progress is real. Again. Even if I walk slowly, I will not stop. My pace is mine. My progress is real. Let that become your truth. Let it push you gently forward when the path feels too steep. You are not alone on this journey. There are millions of people learning English right now, in kitchens, bedrooms, buses, break rooms. They're whispering new words, reading subtitles, practicing questions, fighting fear. Just like you are part of something big. A global chorus of voices learning to speak. Not perfectly, but honestly. And together, we rise. So here's what I ask you to do today. Take one more step. Say one sentence out loud. Watch one English video with subtitles. Repeat one line that speaks to your heart. You don't need to do everything. You just need to do something, because that's how the journey moves forward. Not with giant leaps, but with tiny, powerful steps, taken every day. And one day, maybe not today, maybe not next week, but someday, you'll look back and you'll say, I remember when I was afraid to speak. I remember when I didn't believe in myself. And look at me now, and I'll be right here, reminding you. You didn't get here by being fluent. You got here because you began. Let me tell you a story about small words and big change. There was a man who worked as a janitor at a language school. He didn't speak English, but every day he watched students walk in and out, laughing, learning, speaking freely, and every night after everyone had gone home, he would sweep the empty hallways in silence. But one evening, as he was cleaning the front office, he saw something on the teacher's whiteboard. It was a short sentence. Speak, even if your voice shakes. He stopped, read it again, and whispered it out loud. Speak, even if your voice shakes. He took a picture of it with his phone, and that night, he wrote it on a piece of paper and put it in his wallet. The next day, he decided he would speak. Just one English word. One. So he did. As a student walked by, he smiled and said, "Hello." That was it. No big speech, no conversation, just one word. But that word, it opened something inside him. A few weeks later, he said 2 words. Good morning. Then later, 3. How are you? And one day, months later, one of the teachers asked him, do you want to join the beginner class? He almost said no. But then he remembered that sentence. Speak, even if your voice shakes. So he said yes. And that one decision changed everything. He didn't become fluent in a month. He didn't suddenly speak like a native, but slowly, with every brave step, his world became bigger. He started reading signs. He helped new students find their classrooms. He gave directions in English, all because he began with one word. So, if you're sitting there thinking, my English isn't good enough, I don't have the right words, I'll start when I'm ready. Let this be your sign. You are ready now. Not to be fluent, but to begin. Let's be honest. The world won't always wait for your perfect sentence, but it will pause for your honest one. The one you speak with heart, the one you speak with effort, the one you speak because staying silent hurts more than trying, and sometimes that sentence will be enough. Enough to make someone smile. Enough to help you find your way. Enough to remind you, I can do this. I'm not invisible. Let me say something you might not hear enough. Good enough is more than enough. You don't need perfect English to ask for help, tell someone you care, answer a question, make a new friend order food, learn something new, Share your opinion, you just need to be understood. And right now, with what you have, you're already closer than you think. Think about this. People don't connect with you because you sound perfect. They connect with you because you sound real. Because you try. Because you care. Because you keep going, even when it's hard. That's what people remember. Not the grammar, not the vocabulary, but the courage. Let's say this together now. I am not waiting to be perfect. I am choosing to begin. My English is a work in progress, and that's okay. Again, I am not waiting to be perfect. I am choosing to begin. My English is a work in progress, and that's okay. That is your permission. To start, to stumble, to speak, and to keep moving forward. Because every time you say one word out loud, you are making yourself stronger. Every time you try again, you are rewriting your story, and every time you remind yourself that you don't need to be fluent, you make space for something more powerful. Freedom. You've come a long way, not just in this episode, but in your journey as an English learner. And maybe you didn't even notice it, but something inside you has already changed. Because listening to this, staying with it until the end, means you are not the same person who started. You are stronger, more aware, more ready. You've heard stories of courage, you've repeated sentences of belief, you've reflected on what fluency really means. And now, you understand something most people never realize. It's not fluency that gives you permission to begin. It's beginning that brings you closer to fluency. You've learned that small steps matter, that mistakes are not the enemy, that broken English can still carry powerful truth. You've seen that your voice has value, not because it's perfect, but because it's yours. You felt the strength of slow progress. You've learned to trust your effort. And now, my friend, it's time for you to walk forward on your own path, not with fear, but with quiet confidence. Because you've already begun. This is not the end, this is the beginning of a new season in your learning. A season where you stop waiting. A season where you speak, even if your voice shakes. A season where your identity as an English speaker is not something you wish for. It's something you are already living. You don't need to prove anything to anyone, not to teachers, not to classmates, not even to yourself, because every word you've spoken, every sentence you've tried, every moment you've kept going, that's the proof. You are growing, you are learning, you are becoming, and you are enough. So wherever you are, right now, on a bus, at home, walking alone, or just sitting in silence, close your eyes for one last moment and repeat with me. I am not waiting to be fluent. I have already begun. I am enough. I am learning. I am on my way. Say it softly. Say it proudly. Say it until your heart believes it, because it's true. And from my heart to yours, thank you. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for listening. All the way to the end. Thank you for being brave enough to grow. You're not alone. You never were. And you never will be. This is your voice. This is your story. And it has already begun. You don't need to be fluent. You just need to begin. Daily English Podcast.